to this week's 5 Facts Friday, and in this edition we're going to talk about actually 5 facts, 5 reasons why you shouldn't get yourself a Harris's hawk. But first, let me tell you a little bit about this Harris hawk. His name's Nigel. Nigel's 11 years old. I've been working with Nigel and training him since he was 16 weeks old. And although he was a true falconry bird first, that's hunting, and with a Harris hawk, if you build up a really good bond with them as a hunting hawk, thanks Nigel, if you build up a really good bond with them as a hunting hawk, you form a really good tight relationship. And then really his job from then on has been school education, flying indoors in school halls, a little bit of experience days flying to strangers, and lots of outside events all around the country, and flying inside arenas with dogs, bouncy castles, who knows what going on around him. He's actually just had a rest due to COVID. We actually paired him up with Zara, his girlfriend. They've never been allowed to breed before, and they've had several months off in an enclosed aviary, peace and quiet, just for themselves. She laid 2 clutches of eggs. I don't know whether Nigel's a Jaffa, but none of the eggs were fertile. So he's back out on the team. They're both back out on the team. And because of that time away from me, we're just giving Nigel a little bit of retraining. For the first 2 or 3 days, he didn't want me to offer him food. He didn't want anything I'd got. And over time, daily handling, he's come to realise that once again, we're good friends. He's getting used to the hood, he's getting used to being tethered briefly, and we've just got to the stage now where he's flying backwards and forwards to me with a fair bit of trust, getting back into the swing of things. We're going to put him on a clearance line, a training line, just first off to check. Let's see first off if he's still working okay and the trust is still there from yesterday. Okay, so we've attached the clearance line. It's just a line of distrust, isn't it? It's in case at the moment he veers off, goes into a tree, and we haven't built that bond back up as much as I thought we had. So a little bit of a test. So we tied the clearance line on with a couple of falconer's knots. Lots of schools of thought on this. Do you tie it to the swivel on the jesses, or do you tie it directly to the jesses? Many people think if you tie it to the swivel, that's dangerous, because if the hawk goes errant and you have to bring the hawk down, the force could break the swivel and the hawk will be lost wearing its kit, tangle up in a tree. Personally, if you can break any swivel while you're using a clearance line, you're not using that clearance line properly. If you bring the hawk down on a clearance line because he is heading for a tree and he has had a wobble, it should be so gentle. You're feathering the line and the hawk lands gently. Absolutely no strain, not only on the swivel, but certainly on the bird's legs. If you can break a swivel with a clearance line, you are pulling that bird to a standstill almost instantly. I actually see for sale clearance lines with spikes that you can stick in the ground. 50 metres long. How ridiculous. The bird's flying away from you in panic because it hasn't got quite the trust you thought, and you bring it to a sudden stop on a nylon line. You're not just going to possibly break the swivel, you're going to hurt your bird. You should never know the clearance line's there. The bird shouldn't anyway. But if it does go wrong, you are feathering that down gently. Put it securely in your pocket. You can move with the clearance line if you need to. Personally, if the bird comes a short distance, we don't need any distance on it at all. So let's see what he'll do. We're going to unhood him. There we are. And we're going to just give him a couple of goes, flying back and forth to the training perch. Don't train your hawks off gates and fence posts. Every time they see one afterwards, they're going to fly to them. They think when they land there and come back, they get a reward. It's a really annoying habit. So, go Nigel. So we've got the clearance line controlled through my gloved hand as well. The clearance handle is in my pocket so I can move with it. And let's see, we'll just call him to a bit of chicken. There we are. Really, once you've got your young bird initially trained, you actually want it coming to the glove without food on show, or else the bird will learn that there's no point coming to you unless you've definitely got food on show. Now back to his T-perch, line through my little finger, a little bit of reward, hid it in the glove palm, he can't see it, hand outstretched, there we are. I know for sure, don't forget I've worked with this bird for 11 years, I need do no more. Let's take the clearance line off. No falconer likes the clearance line, and they need dispensing with as soon as possible. As possible, not too soon, but you shouldn't need one very long at all. Okay, clearance line removed, Jesse's removed, and we've just clipped a transmitter onto his anklet for now. I prefer to tail mount. He's freshly molted. I haven't actually got round to putting a tail mount bracket on his tail. Fact number 1, why you shouldn't get a Harris hawk. Harris hawks cost nothing. Sadly, they don't. You can get them for free. You can pay 100, 200, 300 pounds for Harris hawk. It's nothing. This transmitter attached to his leg, tail, however you mount your transmitter, costs 150 to 250 pounds upwards for the transmitter. The equipment that locates the transmitter and hopefully your Harris hawk costs between 500 and 800 pounds. Don't get a Harris hawk unless you can afford their equipment. Away you go, Nigel. Now Nigel's sat around, well he hasn't sat around, he's been in a large aviary, but that doesn't equate to flying around out here. A little bit of muscle wastage, I'm sure, a bit flabby like me. So let's give him a little walk along the tree line, fence line. We'll decide what he wants to do now. He's flying free. Nice. And we don't need to reward him every time, but enough times that he thinks it's worth coming back when we call him. Nigel! Again, the food hidden in the glove. He doesn't need it waving at him. He needs to come back when I call him whatever, and there's always a chance there's a good reward in there for him. Fact number 2 of why you shouldn't get a Harris hawk. If you're going to work with a bird of prey, the whole point is you fly with them and you work them free. You can't really justify that or do it at all well, or have a bird that's anything like fit if you're just doing that at the weekend. One big reason you shouldn't get a Harris hawk is they take up an awful lot of time if you want to do it correctly, and you want a bird that's incredibly fit and fit for purpose. It's a pointless task and a hiding to nothing unless you can genuinely and honestly work into your life, your daily, weekly life, a way of flying your bird of prey several times a week for sure. Have you got the time? Nice. So this is lovely. He's had several months away from me. He's had his own girlfriend instead of me for a change. And when he was first taken up from the aviary, where he'd been with his girlfriend, 2 or 3 days, he didn't really want to know me that much. He wasn't that trusted of me. He'd kind of forgotten a little bit. He's just clever, interesting, intelligent bird. It took him 2 or 3 days. He's back to his old self. He now just lacks fitness, which we can build with long countryside walks and a lot of field time and air time, whether it's with guests or just out on our own. Nigel. Nigel. And we can do that by following on a whole lazy behaviour. So there's a really good example of how you can get into bad habits with birds of prey, because really I want to get him back on my glove to send him off. If I do that using food, this guy, being a predator, doesn't want to do anything he doesn't have to do. They don't want to fly around for fun. Being a predator, if I call him back now hurriedly to get him on my glove, Nigel, and I feed him for that, he'll realise I don't need to fly all the way to the trees. That's hard work. I can flop on the ground and come back. So we'll just push him along, we'll help him up. No reward for that whatsoever, ever, not even once. These guys have got a good memory. Fact number 3 of why you shouldn't get a Harris hawk. Have you got that long-term commitment? You know and I know there are thousands and thousands of people that get themselves a puppy dog and they rehome it pretty quick. Harris hawks are just the same. Harris hawks live for 20 to 30 years if you feed them right and look after them well. Have you got that long-term commitment to something? Falconry is not for the messers or the dabblers. If you take up falconry without even knowing absolutely positively all you want to do for the next 20 years is fly and work with birds of prey, don't dabble. You won't enjoy it. Seriously, you won't enjoy it. It'll be difficult, and that poor bird's going to get rehomed, and that's not good enough. They're like us, they're like dogs. They want a habit and routine and a settled lifestyle, not passed around the shop. It's a social species. It doesn't want to go to strangers all the time. Fact number 3, it's a long-term commitment. Right. You could see he's bobbing his head, looking at the glove, seeing if he could spot food there or not. Is it worth the effort if there's no food there? That's a habit we can get into. He only comes if he sees food. We don't want that. Don't show him the food in your glove. Fact number 4, just like a lot of predatory animals, don't get a Harris hawk unless you're going to do your research, put in the time, but especially look at how you interact with that bird. Don't get a Harris hawk if you're not going to think about how you will interact with that bird of prey. Harris hawks can be the most loveliest, placid, absolute best mates of any bird of prey you'll work with. Harris hawks can equally be a hawk that'll try and attack your children, even attack strangers, because it's unsocialised, it's not socialised correctly, and it sees them as outsiders, and it wants to defend its group. It's a group species, you and it, from strangers. Don't get a Harris hawk unless you've really thought about the research, because Harris hawks can be very aggressive birds of prey in the wrong hands. Dabblers. You can see there his wing bits. There's no air movement to help him today, and you can see the lack of fitness. Just to get up, he wanted to go to the top of the arch. You could tell by his wing beats. His muscles are getting tired already because he's kind of been in the Navy. He hasn't done this kind of flying for a few months. And just like us going to the gym, if you have several months off, you don't pick up where you left off. We get unfit quicker than we get fitter, for sure. It's the same with birds and animals. Nigel. Good boy. Fact number 5. Don't get a Harris hawk if you haven't got anywhere to fly it. Your garden's no good. The street's no good. The park down the end of the street, that's no good. Harris hawks. What is that cow doing? Oh, fancy not having any fingertips to itch your head with. Don't get a Harris hawk if you haven't got an itchy cow. Not really. Don't get a Harris hawk if you have not got land to fly that bird on. Open farmland, preferably away from everyone and everything else. Not just lots of land, land full of game for your hawk to hunt and catch. So you need pheasants, rabbits, not just a few of them, in abundance. So nearly every time you can go out hunting with your Harris hawk, he can catch something. He doesn't need to catch 2, 3, 4, 5 things, but he needs to, in an ideal world, catch something every time he goes out. Have a good feed. They're a hunting animal. Harris hawks, more than many birds of prey we work with, are a species that are really tuned to being a hunting bird. And if they're not a proper falconry bird out hunting, to be honest, they often have lots and lots of problems around them, all because they haven't got that drive available to them. They're a social species. Strangely, they're a much better species to work with if you don't want to practice falconry and you only want to purely fly for pleasure. I would say to anyone, don't get a Harris hawk unless you've got acres and acres of good land full of game to fly your hawk on. The park is no good whatsoever. Don't consider it. I'm going to call him in for a big reward now. He's done very well. Let's give him a decent meal. Nice and easy. He's worked really, really hard. We'll let him have a good old feed up. We'll do it all again tomorrow for a little bit longer each time. Nice. Hope you've enjoyed watching. Like and subscribe. Check out all of our other videos. It's a wide range for anyone interested in the natural world. We'll see you soon.